There's my girl. Oh, man, it's a beautiful November day here in North Carolina. And I thought I'd go for a ride and tell you guys my 3 favorite all-time road trips that I ever took. But more specifically, it's not going to be about the where I went. It's going to be about the why they are my favorite. This is Jim. Welcome back to J Street Moto. Welcome to the channel if it's your first time. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, click notification bell, and come along with me. Maybe I will encourage you to get out on your motorcycle and take some trips. Sheesh! Man, it feels good out here today. Like I mentioned in the title, I thought I'd talk with you about my 3 favorite trips that I've ever taken on my motorcycle. But I'm going to focus less on the where we went and more on the why it was my favorite, or it was one of my favorite trips. And I'm going to do them in no particular order. Actually, I'm going to do them in a particular order. I'm going to do them in the order that I did them. So, chronologically is a good way to put it. I was watching an old live from 2 Lane Life earlier this week in the evening, and it was the one where they were, meeting with their wives and talking about the year and all that stuff. They asked the question. They asked the wives what was their favorite ride that they did that year. And that got me to thinking. I'm like, how would I answer that question? If someone said, what are the top 3 favorite rides or best rides you've ever been on? And long distance trips you've ever been on. So here are my top 3 favorite long distance trips. And I'm going to do them, like I said, chronologically. But I'm going to focus more on the why. So, all right, the first one would be shortly after I got Darla. I got her in the end of December. The following April, late April, early May, I took what I considered my first long-distance motorcycle trip. Kind of a joke now, because the mileage that we did over an entire weekend is what we kind of do now in a day. But at the time, it was the longest I'd ever ridden on a motorcycle at one time, and we rode from Charlotte down to Hilton Head, really Bluffton, South Carolina, which is almost, it's a decent little ride down there. But that whole weekend, we only did 780 miles that entire weekend in 3 days. So, yeah. So that would be the first one. And the why for that one is because being that it was my first time running around on a motorcycle and, riding basically all day, it taught me things that I was missing from the bike that I really needed in order to make long distance riding something that would be achievable for me, I guess is a good way to put it. For instance, I learned very quickly that the stock seat on a Harley Davidson motorcycle sucks balls, and I needed a new seat. So I bought the LePera Maverick right after that trip. I did not have highway pegs on the bike when we went to South Carolina the first time, and I realized this really fucking hurts your legs. It would be more comfortable if I could spread out some. So I put highway pegs on the bike. That's right. So my first favorite long-distance trip I've ever taken was the one to South Carolina. That at this point almost feels laughable in terms of it's really not a long-distance trip. But, at the time, it's the first time we'd ever really done it. First time that we kind of dipped our toe in the water of going away from home on the bikes, traveling, staying in different places, seeing different people, chewing up some miles during the day. It's the first time that happened, and we learned a lot from that trip. So that would be number one. Number two is the first time that I rode from North Carolina to California and back. So the first time that I did a transcontinental United States run on a motorcycle. And I did it in June of 2020 with David. It was his first time doing it too. And the trip was absolutely freaking epic. It was amazing. I mean, it was insane. And everything didn't go right on that trip. We dealt with some serious adversity on that trip. David blew an engine up about 4 days into the trip and had to buy a new motorcycle, basically on the road, because it was either that or fly the hell home, and I finished the trip by myself. So yeah, I mean, we had some adversity. There was a section of that trip where we were in Nebraska, and the wind was so freaking bad, we physically could not ride. We had to contact someone. We ended up meeting someone that had a trailer, and he offered for a very reasonable price to basically trailer our motorcycles for about 350 miles to where we needed to be that day to stop for the night, because we weren't going to be able to ride there, period. It was not possible to ride in the wind that we were riding in, or trying to ride in. One of us was going to die. So we dealt with adversity on that trip, which was good, because it's big fan of challenge, builds your soul, I guess is a good way to put it. But the real reason that I enjoy this one makes my list, that the first transcontinental trip I took makes my list, is because of how we did the trip. This trip ended up being 6,700 miles in 12 and a half days. We went through 21 or 22 different states, and throughout all of our days on the road, about half of them, we stayed with people that either we both knew or that I knew and hadn't seen in decades. That was freaking cool. And we did it right in the middle of, we did it in June of 2020, like I said. And it gave people a chance to reconnect with folks they hadn't seen in a long time in person, And that was why that trip was so freaking significant for me, honestly. And I'm going to drop pictures in on all these trips when I'm talking about them so that you can see them. You can see some of the stuff that we did. The third trip that would make the list is our first time to Sturgis. Well, our only time to Sturgis is what I should say, because we've only been there once. So when we went there, we got there the day after the rally. And there was a reason for that. None of us really wanted to go for the rally. We wanted to go there for the riding. And we couldn't, it's one of those things where I want to go there and explore what's around there. So the reason Sturgis was such was the trip that makes this list. What's going on, brother? The reason Sturgis makes this list, quite frankly, is because it's the first time that we did what I'll call destination riding, where we hauled ass as fast as we could to go from where we were to where we wanted to be. In this case, Sturgis, South Dakota. Then stay there for a few days, and then go from there back home as fast as we could. First time we had done a trip like that. And it showed us a different way that we could explore the country on our motorcycles. That's why that trip was significant, and it really was. And I'm not, every single trip I've been on, you make memories, you have a fun time, you deal with adversity, which ends up adding to how fun it is. So all of them are good in their own right, and it's really hard to narrow a couple down. And that's one reason I decided to approach it the way that I approached it today with you, because all of them in their own rights are phenomenal rides or phenomenal trips because of the stuff you see and because of where you're riding and all of that. That's why I focused on differentiating them by why I enjoyed them so much. More specifically, kind of like, and I get it, it's all logistics stuff, right? But logistics are important when you're taking a long distance trip. On that note, get that motorcycle out of your damn garage, get on the road, put some miles down. Go ride somewhere. Go visit somebody you hadn't seen in a long time. Hit them up and be like, yo, maybe we can get together and have a beer. I'm going to be riding through your town. I haven't seen you in 20 years. Giving you my top 3 rides. Told you why they're my top 3 rides. Hope you guys get out there and do some riding yourselves. And always, ride safe.
Yeah, ready? 1, 2, 3, shoot. Ah.
Asshole.
Really? Peace out, bitches!